Black magic on a bigger surface. Many times we do black magic and other patinas on a 6-inch by 6-inch sample for various reasons, but here we're going to move into a bigger sheet, and so we can show you that way and some of the things that you've got to watch for and just keep an eye on when working with bigger sheets. Here we're using a high polishing sander, and we've got an 80 grit pad on here, so we're cutting through pretty good, and we're just trying to get down to the bare steel. If you've seen some of our other videos, you know this is one of the most important steps in the entire process, and so you really got to take care and make sure that you're really cleaning good. Otherwise, you're going to pay for it when you step into the next process. So, as per usual, we're using the Scotch-Brite pad and a Sculpt Nouveau metal cleaner. So we just sprayed it on there and we're going to scrub it up real good. The other thing that this does, other than actually degrease properly, is you can see that some of those like grind marks are kind of being a little subdued and smoothed out. So it is helpful in that sense as well. But always got to degrease your metal before you put anything on it. Otherwise, you just won't get a good bite. And here I'm going to use a sponge just to neutralize that acid. Again, you got to neutralize with water for that metal cleaner. So there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can hose it off. I'm inside, so I'm using a sponge. I'm trying to show a little bit more of the confined ways you may have to do this when you take on a job of bigger sizes. So just make sure you get a lot of water on there. You can see I've gone back and just kind of scrubbing it a little bit more. We want to get it really clean. If we have any of that phosphoric acid that's in the metal cleaner residing afterwards, that could come into play and make our black magic react a little funny. Could make it go a little bit white. So we just want to really make sure we get all that residue off. Now that the metal cleaner is rinsed and dried, we'll go in with the black magic. Now I'm still a fan of spraying it out of one of these little squirt bottles or a garden sprayer, which can push out a little bit more at a faster rate. But ultimately, I still am a fan of spraying even on the bigger surfaces. I like the modeling that it tends to do. You can roll it, you can brush it, however you want to get it onto the bare steel. It will react, but it kind of shows the individual tells, so you may see some brush marks or some roller lines. So I'm still a fan of spraying. I think it looks the best. And you can see I'm going on pretty heavy on this. Usually on like a smaller sample I may not go this hard, but I wanted to burnish this in and I really wanted to make sure that I'm getting it all. So some of that extra was not reacting completely in one area, so I like to hit that again. But ultimately when I go to burnish, I want it a little bit heavier. So this ultimately in this step will help the patina come in a little bit smoother and more uniform. It kind of sacrifices that first coat, so it'll do a little bit on the steel, but it's not going to be a great kind of first coat as far as darkness. But it's essentially a starting point for where you can get a really good uniform dark finish when you come in with subsequent coats. So this is just a normal gray Scotch-Brite pad, and you can see it not pushing very hard, just trying to burnish in circles. And then really it's like dusting a fine dining room table, not really applying any pressure. So the next step, as per usual for a traditional patina, you need to rinse it. So you can do that a lot of different ways. Ultimately it's with water, but here I've just kind of set it up so it will flow into the trash can a little bit more. You can see it's not a foolproof situation, but a lot of the times when I'm doing it outside, I'll set up a kiddie pool, and that way I can kind of prop it up on its side and run water down there, and everything just flows into the kiddie pool. So you've got to kind of play with the situations and see how it works best for you. But this is what I did, just ran some water on it. And then I went ahead and got the sponge going as well to really make sure that I get that film off, because we got to get that film off of black magic. A lot of people think that, oh, we're getting rid of the patina then because it looks darker. And it is darker. But ultimately, that's not your patina. That's the portion of it where it can cause it to rust. So if you're having problems with black magic rusting, that might be one of your indications. So really just make sure when you're rinsing, you're wiping as well. And you can do it with a hand, but I normally don't recommend it since it will show those marks. Usually I recommend going with a sponge like this, plenty of water, or a microfiber towel, something to that extent, but definitely got to get that film off. Now, depending on how dark you want it, depends on how many coats you'll need to do. This kind of looks nice, but if we're going for a full black, we'll need to do more. So for drying purposes, we don't want to heat it because I really want to start doing that next coat right away. So here I just kind of dabbed it with paper towels to try and get the majority of the moisture off, and then I hit it with a air hose, try and get more of that air off. Now the thing to remember when you're at this point is the more water on the surface and kind of the faster you rush the water away, the more you'll be prone to getting rust. So you just kind of got to know how this works in your environment. So I really recommend doing a test before you take on a bigger job. And then you can find out, oh, am I prone to rust at this stage or at that stage essentially. But I air hosed it and worked out pretty well. Then I'm going to reapply. Same thing as usual, just spraying it on. And overall, it should take a little bit better and a little bit smoother or uniform on this next coat because we did that preparation during the first coat. That Scotch-Briting is going to help us out get a little smoother. And if you've seen some of our other videos, primarily the slate black video or the stainless black video, you probably have noticed that I like to do about 2 coats, maybe 3 coats of a patina, and then follow in with the patina stain to get a really dark uniform finish. I'm not going to do it this time. I find that to be an easier way rather than to just keep in it with the Black Magic or the patina of your choice. But here we're just going to keep going with patina. When you do choose to just go with patina, it does take multiple coats. Usually about 3 or 4 coats if you sacrifice this first one. But ultimately, it does take many coats to get a very dark, uniform finish with a reactive patina. And here we've just sped up the video just so you can kind of see the whole process again. Ultimately, it's pretty much the same process, but here you can see that I'm actually getting a little bit of rust. Didn't get enough of that surface water off. So what I'm going to do is go in with the isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to get the paper towels wet, and I'm going to just wipe the surface. Now it doesn't get all of it off, but it does get a good portion of it off, so I can continue moving forward. So you can see I just gave up on trying to get the paper towels wet, and I'll just get the metal moist at this point. And I don't want to flood it. I just want to get enough to where the paper towels can do their job. So I'll just kind of wipe it off, and a little bit of the black does come off, but ultimately I'm less concerned with that and more concerned with the rust, because if we don't take care of the rust, it will show through. So you can see it still kind of has that kind of a haze, but I got the big portions of the rust off, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the patina. So normally we don't get that rust, but it does happen, especially, like I said, if you kind of get that water off too quick, that's a big tendency. The other thing would be humidity in your area, so just kind of know your surroundings, know how the metal reacts for you. But the Black Magic does have the inhibitors, so it doesn't work against you that fast. If we use the Slate Black or the PC9, something like that, it would be fighting us even more, and we'd have a bigger rust issue. So that's one of the more popular reasons why people go with the Black Magic, is to have those inhibitors. I didn't include the rinsing and drying portion of it on this side. You've seen it twice before. I think you get the gist. So we did that. We neutralized it and we dried it. And then we went in with our clear guard. And we're just going to do this out of the rattle can just to make things easy in the shop. But after 2 coats, here's our final product. You can see it's a pretty uniform Black Magic finish. There's a few highs and lows here, but ultimately looks pretty good. And I'm pretty happy with it after 3 coats of Black Magic. Black Magic is available at www.sculptnouveau.com.